he's so like thorough. Like the Rebbe Rashab is a genius in his work. He like covers it all and very like detailed and presents like a whole picture. So I do want to read it and then like come back to the points that I find that have like so much going on in there. But yeah, so like the point of the mammer is really to show you what is the point of struggling. Why do we have to go through struggles? And he answers it, and I'm always left with like the question, but can't we design the world in a different way where you can just get stronger without it? But that's the reality we live in. And maybe that's not even a question. One more time, we're done. But yeah. All right. So, like I said, I'll just read through the beginning till that third page over there, where it presents the whole question. And then, if you have questions while this is going on, like write them down and sit with that discomfort. And before we start, we can just even take a nice deep breath and fall into the present moment. Because I think this is like it's an experience of a mammer, not just like, oh, let's have like a shear. Like, this is not a shear. Like, we're gonna really find it in our body. That's where it happens.
Wow. Oh my God, totally.
Okay.
I'll hold hands in prayer.
On that note, we do experience everything with our bodies, and we should also experience Chassidus and Judaism in our bodies, and he is going to use a lot of analogies from the way our mind works, our senses and all that stuff.
Wow, that's amazing.
So it's really cool. So I think I'll just tell you the question and then I'll just read through it quickly. The question is like this. It says in Parshas, I'm not sure which Parsha, but it's in Devarim. And we say it in Alinu every day. Veyodata hayom v'shavai salavech ki Hashem hu Elokim. Know today and return to your heart that Havaya is Elokim. God is your God. But he uses two different words to describe God. You have the name.
Can I stop for a second? The Eloi Nishmas, Masha Basvachava.
Okay, yes. Yes, this session is in honor of Mashki's mother, Masha Basvachava.
Yeah.
Meir Shai, have lots of pleasure. I'm sure she's sitting with us here. So, two different names for Hashem, and this is very common in Chassidus, so that's kind of basics. You have Havaya, Yud Kei Vav Kei, which represents what we call Gilui, revelation, flow without any filters, just Chesed. Then you have Elokim, which is the energy that is tailor-made for each creation as it's needed, which creates separation, essentially. Havaya, everything's just one, it's all godly, it's all great, it's one energy, there's no details, there's no separation, there's nothing. Elokim is what makes diversity and division. So to create this cup, it needs X amount of energy, and to create this person needs X amount, and it separates and makes all this different stuff. So the pasuk says, Ki Havaya hu Elokim. Havaya, this energy that is, how do you say it? Definitionless, is Elokim, which is full of definition. So the Rebbe Rashab is asking, how could you say that Havaya is Elokim? That doesn't make sense. Havaya is just flow. It's God in the most simple way, where there's no differences. There's no me, there's no you, it's all just one. And it is Elokim, which is creation, which is total separation, where I feel separate from you. How could you say they're the same thing? That's the question. But he goes into a lot of different details of explaining this. So, like I said, he's very thorough, so it's going to be a page and a half to explain this question. He's going to explain it in very long detail what is Havaya, and a very long detail, what is Elikim, and then wrap it up with saying, how can you say this is one when they're polar opposites?
So the answer is going to be why they're one.
Yes, how they are one. That's what the mammer is going to explain, that they're actually are one. And that will be a long journey. It's not a long mammer, by the way. Kind of. Okay, so I'm just going to read it quickly, follow along or space out. I'll translate us a little here and there. Okay, so we read the pasuk, and then he says like this: the psukim before this speak about the concepts of leaving Mitzrayim and going into Eretz Yisrael. Afterwards, he says this pasuk that we started the mammer with, that you should know the day, return to your heart, that Havaya is Elikim. So whenever we say Havaya and Elikim, keep in mind, Havaya, we're talking about God as a oneness with no definition, and Elikim is talking about diversity, creation, layers, differences. Yeah. So his first question is actually, we want to understand what is the connection between leaving Egypt, going into Eretz Yisrael, and this pasuk of Veyodata. That's one question. And to get to that answer, we're first going to have to understand this, that it says that Havaya is Elikim. So really, I guess, the main question actually is, what does going out of Mitzrayim and coming into Eretz Yisrael have to do with this pasuk? That seems to be his main question. To understand that, we first have to understand how Havaya and Elikim are one. Clear?
Yeah.
We do a mashakasav al. So now he takes the Kabbalistic approach. What does it mean that Havaya is Elikim? So it says in the Zohar, the Havaya v'Elikim kul echad. That Havaya and Elikim are all one. Ulachayr and Zemova and Echem kul echad. How could they be one? The Dina Yudua. The Havaya hu makar hagilui. Havaya is the source of revelation. Hu bechinas midas harachamim. It's the level of compassion. As it's explained in a few places. What does this mean? This is a level of revelation on the levels of kindness and compassion where there's absolutely no limitation. It's a unlimited flow. The kol hagbala hu mishem elikim. Any limitation doesn't come from the name of Havaya, it comes from the name Elikim. Like we're going to explain. Aval Shem Havaya, hu gilu b'chinas b'ligvul klal. Havaya is a level of unlimited flow, no limitation, just tons of love. To everything equally, there's no separation. V'shem Elikim, b'chinas midas adin. Elikim is judgment, is tzimtzum. It's judgment, it's contraction. L'tzamtzim, to contract. U'lahalam, and to cover over as hagilu are this revelation of light. The job of Elikim is to conceal it. From here you get lots of separation. So you have Havaya shining light equally everywhere. So how do you get separation? You have something called Shem Elikim, which starts to come and make, put curtains in front of this light, or colored glass, for example. So the light that shines through is one color. All of a sudden you start to put different glasses and you get different colors, separation. Like the light of the sun is colorless. But when it goes through the clouds in a certain way, all of a sudden all the colors of the rainbow show. But the light itself, you don't see it there. So that's what din is, that's what tzimtzum is. It starts to cover over on the simplicity of the light to show that there's a lot more going on. There's all the colors of the rainbow are actually in the light, but you don't see them. So how do we get separation? Through Elikim. This is Shem Elikim. V'lachein, b'Shem Elikim ksiv lashon rabim. That's why it says Shem Elikim. Elikim kedoshim liyos. Elikim kedoshim. It says it in plural, like many holy gods, which is like, what does that mean? Well, when using Shem Elokim, there is many, as opposed to Shem Havaya, where there's just one. There's no diversity. Because through all this contracting and limitations and concealment, you get a lot of separation. So that's what it explains in Zohar. Okay, about how they're one. Actually, scratch. V'aloshon Kabbalah, in Kabbalah it says Shem Havaya Umakar Ha'aris. Shem Havaya. So in the Zohar's language, we call this we call Elokim Gilui. We call Havaya Gilui, revelation, and Elokim Tzimtzum. In the Lashon HaKabbalah, they call Havaya Makar Ha'aris, the source of the lights. Shem Elokim is Makar HaKelim, is the vessels. And I'll explain. Va'ar hu pashut. The light is simple. And when we say simple, we don't mean simple because it's simple. It means simple because there's no definition. It's just, there's nothing to explain. It's all very simple. But on a high level simple, not stupid simple, but very smart simple. Belisho mischalkos, there's no separation at all. Klal b'beligvo, it's infinite. That is the light that's infinite.
Is this the essence of Hashem, just light? You see,
Yeah.
I have to ask questions.
Yeah. We'll talk about etzem. We'll
Is
talk
this-
about that in a second.
Okay.
The R.
It's just beautiful how Chassidus talks about Hashem, just with love and light. Like, is that Hashem is just light? But it's just light.
Beautiful question. Sit with it.
Okay.
The R.
Let me write that down.
Okay.
You could have.
Well, just like a little history lesson. So people have always been trying to figure out God. And you had like philosophers and you have Kabbalists, and they all have their opinions. And I forget what the philosophers, they called it Shefa, flow. God is flow. That's the language they used. The Kabbalists used the language of light. And the Alter Rebbe has a mammer explaining why the Kabbalists are more accurate. And the problem was saying he's flow, and I don't remember it. So that's what he's quoting over here. The Kabbalists call it R. What is God? Light. It's a mashal. It's obviously God is not light. But it's something to understand because light is similar. Why is it called light? He says the light is simple, and it is the ar hu me'ein amar. What is light? Light is like the source of where it comes from. And we'll talk about light for a long time. I love light and I love the sun. So we'll get into that on the side. When we come back, let's just read through it.
Wait, how much longer are you going to read? I just have to know.
Okay, maybe like 10 minutes.
Okay.
Leah Stavak, challenge yourself to.
Sure, wants to ask that. You're welcome.
Leah Stavak Bahamar, Chul Kidu Amashal Darvzi Bashamash. So this is an important concept. Light is like its source. You can't separate light from the source of where it comes from. That's why they use light as an analogy. Anything you see comes from its source. It can't be separate than its source. Just like the source of our light is probably our light bulb. Maybe we can get really scientific and say it's not, but if we turn off the light and that light bulb goes away, its light will disappear with that. Pshit is just like the source of this light is completely simple, without any separation. It's infinite be'etzem, in its essence. So Havaya represents light, and just as the source of this light is infinite without any separation, and it goes on and on and on, in its essence, which means in the way it relates to itself, it is infinite. And we'll revisit that again. So too, any light that comes off it is also infinite. So when we talk about Havaya, we're talking about this light. We're actually not talking about we're not talking about God himself, we're talking about the light that comes off him. Because Havaya is already almost separate, even though there's nothing to it and it's simple, it's still a reflection. It's some sort of flow, even though it has there's no separation, there are no details, but it's a flow of energy. Elohim already breaks down that energy into different existences and different parts, but this is a reflection of the infinite God, which doesn't have a definition. So the light looks like it, but it's light, so it's already separate almost from its source, but it's very much one with it. Just like the light in the sun, like you said earlier, you can't separate the light from the source, although it's kind of far away from it. Yeah. On them.
So what does it mean by Elohim? There's different.
Here, that was Shem Havaya. So we explained the Kabbalah, the Zohar's definition of Shem Havaya, which was Gilui, revelation. The Kabbalists called it light. Just like light is connected to its source, so to Havaya is exactly like its source. And no, don't forget, these are names of God. So we're not talking about God, so we're talking about the names of him. Why do we refer to this name Havaya? Because that represents the light coming off the source of its light, so it's the same. And Elohim represents, like we'll see in a second. I'll go faster. Am Shem Elohim hu makar akelim. Shem Elohim represents vessels. So we have light and we have vessels. This is all the Kabbalists understanding how God works. So what are vessels? Rebehem mistam salamon regilam asar. Shabbat bebechinas ischalkos chachma vechesed chulu shekol zeh u'mitzad hakelim. Now you have Shem Elohim, which represents vessels. What does that mean? What does a vessel do? A vessel receives light, or receives anything. What do we do with our cups? We can fill them now with water. But once it's filled with water, we only have we have a defined definition. We have a limited amount, whatever fits into that vessel. So you have the light, which is just flowing, godly energy. Then we started to put vessels under it. So we have things like chachma, wisdom, bina, understanding, chesed, kindness, gevurah, strength. All the different spheres, all the different characters start to come in. Just like the rainbow gets in the way, now there's a lot of different colors. So they're actually all the same energy coming through, but once it gets filtered, all of a sudden we have a bunch of different parts. That's the job of Elohim. And then it gets broken down into millions and hundreds of different layers, and if you wanted to apply it to yourself, it would be all the parts of you in IFS language. Yeah. How could it be from one person with one soul, a gazillion? Well, those are vessels. They receive your light and your energy and translate it into their language. I want to be kind, I want to be mean. How can I be both? Well, we have different kalim. But as a whole, if we looked from top down, all we would see is one energy flowing. But from bottom up, we see, wait, this is green light, this is blue light. How's that possible? Well, we're looking at kalim. Mm-hmm. If we go beyond the kalim, the light stayed the same and it never changed at all. So those are kalim. That's in the Kabbalistic language of what God is. It's light and vessels. The vessels create separation. That's Shem Elohim. Havaya just is one simple light. Okay. Wow, that's just so beautiful. Vagam the kelim the Esther Sfira Sarim Galim Isar Hamalubish B'Seichel. Here we're gonna get. Okay, maybe we'll just slow it down here without getting to the whole question. So Vagam the kelim the Esther Sfira Sarim Galim Isar Hamalubish B'Seichel K'may Moich Shabrish Megal Isar Seichel Hamalubish B'Seichel Haskil Chulu. וכן העין מגלה אסור יהיה רוחניוס חולו, והלב מגלה סמידוס חולו, כמו כן הוא במיילה, חכמה מלך חסד רעי, ימינה חולו, שמגלה מסורס חולו, זה הכל עניין הכלים שמגלה אסור וערפל על הידם, חולו כדו הכנל ונפש חולו. הנה שני הממס, שמגלה מסור, וגם עלים מסתיר מעלה. So here we have something interesting going on. So he's still representing a question. So although the kalim of, we just said that there's kalim, and in general, Kabbalah speaks about kalim on 10 different levels. Chacham bin Adas, Chesed Gvura Tiferes Netzach Yisod Malchus. We have those 10 vessels, and they take the light and make out of them these attributes or emotions, maybe we can call them, and then when you make the combinations between all of them, you get endless amount of different levels. So we have two things going on over here. On the one hand, the vessels sort of reveal what's in the light. Like the light of the sun shining through the rainbow reveals that, oh, there's purple now in the sun. I know that the sun actually carries violets or whatever, however it has all these different colors. So the rainbow gives me a revelation of what's going on in that simple light. Or to use his mashal, he says, just like my brain reveals to me the light of the seichel that's inside it to understand that without my brain, I have a power of brain power. Without my physical brain, I would never be able to process any thoughts. Or my eye to see stuff. We all have a power of vision. Like, for example, if you're sleeping, you see things. How's that possible? You're not using your eyes anymore, you're using your power of vision. But then your eye now, in a physical way, takes that power and lets you see things that are happening around you. And the heart reveals to you your emotions. But without all these kalim, you would still have power of vision. You still have power of brain power, the power to, I don't want to call it think. It's like higher than that. And you have emotions. Your heart only reveals to you what those emotions actually feel like, and your eye reveals to you what it's like to see. So, on the one hand, your eye is enabling you to see, but on the other hand, it's minimizing your power of vision, which is way greater than what your little eye takes in. Take, for example, a dream or a psychedelic journey. All of a sudden, someone takes a little drugs, he can see things that, like, on a regular he doesn't see. Where does that come from? Well, that's from your power of vision, which is greater than what your eye is actually a tzimtzum. It's a lekim, and filters down so that you'd be able to take something in. If you were able to see everything that's going on here, every particle of dust on it would be way too overwhelming, and we'd be blind. So we have all these filters in our eye, narrow it down. By then narrowing it down, we actually are able to see something. So he's saying here, or our emotions, like if we would feel everything that was going on, we'd probably have a heart attack. So our heart is like kind of all the time filtering things out and like making sure that we can only take in as much as we can handle. So two things happen. In the process of doing that, we're able to have an experience of seeing something, and we're able to have an experience of our brain also is narrowing down our brain capacity to like one thought. If like everything that like we were able to think about happened all at once, it would be an overload. So our brain filters everything down, and then we have an experience of understanding something. So two things happen. On the one hand, the brain is minimizing. It's being a lekim. It's putting in all these filters and layers to get to one little thought. And on the other hand, it's revealing that one thought. So two things happen at once, and they're both true. Every time you have a concealment, the eye filters down like it's a lens, your eye, and it takes in like scientifically different colors and waves. It works in waves, like waves, color waves. Every color moves in waves. That's why during sunset, I'm all scientific. And sunset, all of a sudden it turns red. As the sun moves further away from Earth, you start to get to the reds. As it's closer, all you see is blue. Because the shortest, I think, light wave is blue, and the longer the wave is, it starts to turn red. That might not be accurate in what I'm saying, but it's true.
Sounds great.
The idea is true. It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know which color does what, but they work on different waves. And the farther you are, it changes color. So you see different things. So the process of the filter enables you to actually get a revelation. So both things are true. The Masha Megala Masar, Hanu Har Shalafi Arach Alamis, Kalam Devasir, that says Mir Megala Mara Tilas, there are parts of my seconds, Tilas the Bria, Harry Megala Masar by the Mabria, Maria the Sira, Gameza, Hina Scale, Arkham Shosha, and as well, Ar, who may in Amar, will Pasha Batachos of Leakvol, Yimkain and Ar, Beatsam, Enel Fiara Helamis, Shakala and Bahrich, Shubichinazia Shakvol, the Gamma the Matilas, Hanu Mechalas, Tilas, Tarehim. Okay, so now he's saying, he's explained us a little bit of Seder Shtalshlos, if we wanted some Hasidic basis also. So I'm not going to draw out a whole map, but you have like Aron Tzoif, God, without anything, then there's like a tzimtzum, a contraction, we created a bunch of worlds, and very short. So he's saying all these worlds are filled with vessels that take the light and actually make out of them different worlds. And he's saying, how do they do it? Through a process of tzimtzum and concealments. And they have a lot of vessels that they carry the light in different directions, and a lot of curtains that even, might deflect the light. Like light can bend around corners, and you're like, where does this light even come from? And it looks like it's its own creation, but it's actually somewhat connected to the source all the way through, if you follow it. So, and that's why you have so many different worlds. You have the world of animation, Atzilus. It's a spiritual world. And you have all the way down to this physical world. It's actually all coming from this infinite light, just processed through a bunch of different filters and vessels and all this other stuff. And what he's trying to say is that that's actually not this is not the essence of the light, because the essence of the light is actually simple. It's not all of this stuff, but it's coming from it directly. Like he explains in Tanya, so that him and his vessels are all one. It's really all one godliness, but it comes through all these layers. Okay. Now, I know this sounds like all Kabbalistic and out there, but actually take this as just information, and then in your spare time, make it personal, because this is not about a God that's out there and a light out there. It actually all happens within our bodies, this process of like, stuff come in, it goes through this emotion and that filter and that thing, and then we're done. We're like, what is this anyhow? And like try to trace it back actually to like, is this all me? Then what the hell's going on here? So this is like any time you're learning Chassidus, and it sounds like God doesn't exist in me or it's separate from me, and this whole thing of Seder Shtalshlos is somewhere far away in a spiritual world called Atzilos, then it's a misunderstanding and it's useless information. It's meant to be experienced just like we experience everything else in our bodies, hot, cold, the tastes of food, feelings, we feel them in our body. Well, this is no different. If you can't bring us into a feeling and an understanding, an experience, not a feeling, a body experience.
Somatic experience.
Yes, then we're missing the connection. It's not connected. It's just information. And it's nice, information is good, but useless when it's not connected. Mm-hmm. It's just energy that has no vessel, so to speak, if we're going to use the language here. It's just floating. It can't have an effect. So we're using the language of the mammer as information, and our job is to process it through our body. And our brain is in our body. So from the brain to our heart. Okay. Certainly, so you think even Atzilus, which when we speak about Atzilus, we got the spiritual world. There are no physical creations there. Well, even if it's just made up of something that has a definition, it has 10 spheres, that's already much separate from the light we spoke about earlier, which has no definition. It's already not Havaya, it's already Elikim. Even Atzilus, the highest of the world, is already not Havaya, it comes from Shem Elikim. V'kolshken El Mabriya, certainly the world of creation, and Yetzirah, the world of formation, and Asiya, which is our world, the world of physicality, Shem Bechinas Gvul, which are limited, Ugvul, Ubli Gvul, ugvul, ubli gvul, him be'ein erech klal ze lezeh. And when we talk about limitation and we talk about limitless, they're as far separated as can be. There are two polar opposites. Limit and limitless are not the same. If it's limitless, it has no limit. And if it has a limit, it's not limitless. So they're as far apart from each other as possible. So this light that we speak of, in its essence, which is limitless and no definition, is so removed from even the world of Atzilus, but certainly from this world. What does this world have to do with that great light that has no definition? We're sitting here. I only feel me. We're separate. This table, I think, has no feelings. Like, how could we be coming from that light? We're completely different. Vim came over, so here we understand. The Mash Kalam Agbilam Arab Hailamois in the Bechinas Etzem Ar Ki in Bechinas Hara Chitzonius Levad Mimenu. So from this is understood that these vessels reveal light in those worlds. It's not actually the essence of this light. Ki Bechinas Hara Chitzonius Levad Mimenu. So it comes out that it must be the light that I see in this world that I experience here is not really the actual light the way it is, but it's just like a really external part of it that gets trapped into this into this vessel, into this filter that now becomes defined as something, and I have a couch. It's just a very, very removed part of that infinite light. Very removed. It's the outside of it, and with that filter down, and then I have this. And it's able to operate and create stuff in this world. And that's a very important point to understand. It pretty much is saying what you see, what you get. No, what you see is not what you're getting. Yeah, what you see is not what you get. You think you're getting a couch and that's what it is like, and it's light and it's godly, and like, no, what you're seeing is not what it is. This is not an actual never mind. So it comes out two things are true. When I have all this filtration and all these vessels, I reveal the light. I'm sorry. When I have all these vessels and filtration, I block the light. And they also reveal the external parts of this light. And I guess let's go back to let's say shining a light through a colored glass, and maybe a few more. By the time I'm done, I don't have the essence of the light. That's way brighter, way bigger, but I'm left with a little part of it. Mm-hmm. So there is some connection, but it's completely removed from it. However, I'm revealing the light. I took a regular simple light and brought it down through a bunch of glasses, and maybe I used some mirrors, and I took a light from there and brought it to that corner of the house in a different color. So I'm revealing what's in that light. Some are far removed, but it's only an external part of it. So and these two are interconnected. That when I can conceal some of the light, I'm able to reveal a part of it. However, if we would just look straight up at the sun, we would be blinded. We'd be blind. We wouldn't be able to see it. But if we can put on our sunglasses, we're not now seeing the essence of the great light. We're seeing just an external part of it. But through that filter, I'm able to get some of that light. And what I'll say here about our personal experience is that, when you relate to someone else and they tell you something, understand that what they're telling you is filtered down through a process of, in themselves, comes from their power of thinking, which is huge and pretty much limitless. The power of the soul, the brain power of the soul, not of our physical brain. Even our physical brain is probably close to limitless. It's an amazing machine, and goes through so much filter process to like have an understanding, to now translate it into words that are in my brain is one level, then I have to like know how to speak it to you, and then you're like, oh, I get what you're saying. Like, no, you don't. Take a minute, let that process come back into your ears, into your brain, back into your power of understanding. Understand that there, and now relate to that person. You know, and in a relationship, you'll find that very often, especially between husband and wife, like, says one thing, like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, of course you don't know what I'm talking about, because if I'm able to say it, I'm only giving you a small idea of what's really going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes, like, a humility to, like, to really hear what they're saying. And you'll never really hear it, because they have to filter down to tell you what they're trying to say, so it's a complicated process. And that's kind of what happens with...
It's like the experience is so much greater than what they're actually telling you.
It's infinite experience, and they have to narrow it down so that they can reveal it to you. That's what he's saying happens with Havaya and Elikim. It's infinite. How am I going to reveal it to you? Oh, I got to really narrow it down. By the time I'm done, you're pretty much not getting my essence anymore. You get a little bit. But if I never filtered it down...
You wouldn't get any of it.
None of it. There would be no relationship.
Right. So they're both very powerful in their own way.
Yes, they're both necessary.
Right.
And you can see where he's going with this. And he's going to end on the next page with, if that is the two processes going on over here, they're complete opposites. Havaya is a total opposite of Elikim. Havaya...
That's part of the process.
It's part of the process, but by the time you get to Elikim, that's not Havaya. They're as far as like, as night and day. Havaya is like, no filter. It's all here, everything. It's unlimited, and you're like, you filter down, you're left with nothing. You're like, yeah, they're one. Like they may enhance each other, maybe they're necessary, but they're one. How could they be one? If it's Havaya, everything is inclusive. There's no separation. If it's Elikim, everything is separate. How could they be one? But he still has some more really cool things.
But when do we get to stop and to like discuss? Maybe we should do that.
One more little point there, and then we'll discuss. So we won't end with the question today. That's okay. But this is another beautiful thing, and like that's what I said. He's so thorough that like I feel like you could have just said they're total opposites and go to the answer. It's like no. There's more. Let me like really break this down. And he brings a proof. He's going to bring a proof how kalim, vessels, and all these emotions don't actually reveal the essence of the light. From words, from the letters of our words, from the way we speak. When we speak, we're revealing our seichel, but we're not actually veiling the essence of it, we're just giving an external part of it. Like we see in Sanhedrin, in the Gemara, we have a situation. Here's a little background in this situation. It is, I believe, this is what would happen when they had a capital punishment. If there was a capital case brought to the Sanhedrin, to the courts, they would discuss it all night, and in the morning they would carry out whatever they decided. If the guy was guilty, they would go with to kill him, I guess. But they had to discuss it a whole night. If it's something to do with Shabbos over here, if Shabbos got in the way of it, then they couldn't carry out. Oh, so if they had a case come to them on Friday, then they wouldn't be able to carry out the punishment on Sunday. They would have to like redo the whole case. So he says that because we saw that they would they would like go over and converse and talk about the case like the whole night, because people forget the reasoning. So why would they discuss it all night? Because they didn't want to come in the morning, and then they said, okay, we said to kill him. And the guy's like, what? I said to kill him? Why did I say to kill him? And then they're going to say, well, because you gave this reasoning. He's like, well, it doesn't make any sense. So So they would stay up all night. So I'm forgetting the background of what happens in the story. They would have to stay up all night and discuss it. So the Gemara asks, like, why do they need to stay up all night? Didn't the stenographers in the court write that, these judges said whatever they said, it would be written down on paper? Why do they have to stay up all night and then at the end of the night, like, carry out the verdict? It's because people forget the reasoning. Because what they're in the words is actually not everything that they actually have in mind. So they would come in the next day, if let's say they went to sleep, then they'd come to the courthouse and say, okay, we're carrying out the punishment. 29 judges said that he's either innocent and whatever. The 28 said he's not. So now we're going to carry this one. People would say, wait, why did I say that? And they'd say, well, you gave this reasoning. And then you'd be like, that doesn't sound very logical. Something's missing here. So how did that happen? Well, because when we're discussing in live, there's a lot more going on besides the words that are being written down. So that's the proof that when I tell you something and when it's written down, we're still missing like what's going on in the heart, like the emotions that are involved in that thought. So here's this, yeah, like a text that someone else. But even to yourself, you forget your own. So like the proof is that in your words that you're saying, it's just an external part of your mindset. So I guess we can stop reading there if you want. Okay, as far as discussing, I kind of discussed a lot of these ideas as we went along. But yeah, what was your question that you said earlier?
Did you have a question?
Just that God and light. That is light. Light.
Like, what do they mean by that?
I guess it's the way to talk about Hashem.
Right. I think like a lot of us understand Hashem as he's our Tati and he's very strong. He owns the whole world, and it's like this elementary understanding which makes him like a human.
Oh.
So we try to understand it in a human way, and then like things don't like really make any sense. Like Vita is asking now that famous question, who made Hashem?
Right.
What was before it? And like they also battle with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then essentially what they're saying is it's energy. I don't know if you put any words to it, you're already limiting it, and we're talking about something that has no limit. So it's like.
So
But a way
first
of
all, I just want to tell you that.
how do you make it real? I think that's it.
But being you said not to ask questions, I think that was the biggest lesson for me, because I always need to stop and understand, and here I was sitting with it, and it also told me that you don't need answers right away. The answers will come, because as you went along, okay, now it makes sense. So I was sitting with it, and then I got my answers, and it just penetrated. Like, you don't need to get answers right away. Things will fall into place. So that's a great thing that you said.
Yeah.
But I do have a question. So you said about Elikim and Avaya. So what are we connecting to? Like, because you're dividing them in two, but did I miss something about Havaya? Because you kept on talking about Elikim and not.
Well, the beginning he said what Avaya is.
But what do we benefit from that? It's just we're not understanding. It's way too powerful, and it is what it is.
Well,
like, how do we implement it in our life?
Okay, well, I guess we're still on the question. The point of the mammer is to say there actually are one. They're not separate things. He's going to explain it.
I guess I don't understand it yet.
But I think it's just, even in the questions, it's to reflect on is Elikim actually is in its own existence. Like he said, the light is it still comes from Avaya. It can't be separate. But the job of Elikim is to start to make definitions. And I guess how to connect it would always to understand that this whole filtration system is not separate from that infinite light. It's still, there's still a oneness here. It's represented as different parts. And maybe the question would be like why?
And even the bad, like the good and the bad, seemingly bad, is also part of
Yeah.
So all the parts, all my parts, like the manifest, the negative parts, is also a part of Hashem. Is also Hashem.
Yeah.
Well,
Or to make it different,
okay.
it's part of you. When he talks about Hashemer, imagine that it's actually you. And let's talk about this part. If you want to talk about IIFS and creation, where do negative parts even come from? Or where do positive parts come from? It's like we're constantly creating new parts of ourselves all the time. And it's pretty much infinite. There's infinite levels in us. And like from when you're like, and I'll just speak my experience, but like you're a kid. I mean, actually it's everyone's. From when you're a kid and you have experiences, you create new parts to deal with those experiences. It's like you're Havaya up there, and you're like, something's going on up there. You create this like system that goes through all these filters, protection over there, a protection over here, all these different systems.
To help you understand what's happening, we're saying.
Yeah.
Right.
To cope.
Mm-hmm.
And that is essentially sending off from main office headquarters Havaya, which is just everything is simple, down through all this down through this filtration process to make different like creations, different characters within you to handle whatever's going on.
And they're all necessary.
Yeah.
Well, the parts that you say bad, that is a perspective on the part.
Right.
It's not the real part, right?
Right. Yeah.
So what about the qualities that come through like it? Are any of them looked at as bad or negative? Or they're all beautiful and positive?
Maybe where did you understand in your life that things need to be either good or bad, negative or positive? What if they could all just be necessary without a good or bad label?
It's either mitzvah or avera. That's why. It's like either good or bad. Like there's no in between. Where
I don't
it's
even...
constantly judged. Like, are you doing a good thing or not?
Right. Who's judging?
Hashem, apparently.
Are you
Or
sure?
that's what we were told. I don't know. I'm asking you.
Right. I think
you know what it was?
What's it really? What really is it?
I think we use language that like we can understand, but what does it really mean? Like I said, once we learn that first page of the mammer, nothing is what it seems like. When it says in the Torah, there's a tree of knowledge, even you will know the difference between good and bad. Well, what does that really mean? Like, what is good and bad? You know, like a patch is bad and a kush is good.
Right.
No. It can't be like that simple. It's just a tiny little understanding. Like, what does it really mean? And you can dissect everything you know from like what you thought you know to be like, whoa, there's a huge, infinite understanding and all this stuff so beyond what I like take for granted. I'm like, oh, it means this. I'm like, go on. Like, well, it's words on a paper.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go back to like, what did the author have in mind? And like, where like there's just so much more to understand than just, it's not so simple anymore.
Yeah, I guess there's infinite definitions on the whole.
That was my first takeaway on round one in this memoir was like, wait, I know nothing.
Right.
I know nothing. Like my understanding of God is so elementary. It's so childish. Like it was the same from the beginning. There's like, Shem, if I do good, he likes me. Bad, he doesn't like me. Like, really?
Yeah.
Wait. I must have misunderstood every parsha on the Torah. Everything I've ever heard there's more to it. Everything.
Well,
way more.
True.
So like now I'm curious.
Yeah.
And it just sparks and like I don't have like everything I thought I understood in one light. Like let's just be curious and not afraid to like strip myself of that understanding and see what else there is. There's a lot of fear in like exploring.
Right.
But that's very limiting because now I'm just like so filtered down to like I could only understand it this way. Like let's take some of them elikim. Let's remove it and see what's really behind the light, like behind this filter. What's behind it? Like, is it really green or it's actually just filtered? And can I put on a different lens? And all of a sudden that light went from green to blue. Because I could do anything with that light. I could bend it any way I want because it has everything in it. So why do I need to understand it only this way? Maybe I can understand it that way.
So what is good and bad? Do we want to get into this now?
And also the fact that thinking that Hashem is my tati, like you're saying, like kindergarten perspective, but it makes me feel safe in a way.
Cool.
Because I'm recreating the father figure, that Hashem is really good. But when you say that he's infinite is not even the word, when he's beyond infinite, yeah, then I can't relate to him. Like, he's not a father anymore. He's something so powerful that, like, why have a connection with him?
Well, is Elikim giving us the opportunity to connect in a sense? Is that giving us a chance? Right?
Well, I think even Father it's still also so mushal, like it's an example. Like, we use all this language about Hashem that's like, it's just words. And what does a father represent? Yeah, it represents safety, or someone that I can always just fall back on. What's it for someone that doesn't? They're like, oh, my father was like, is it a misunderstanding for them in how they saw their father maybe, or getting off topic over here, but
Right. In the sense, it's like your father, like this all-loving, accepting thing, right? That's what they
yeah,
mean
that's
by
why we
father.
use those words.
Right.
But don't limit it to like, oh, it's a fatherly figure, like. And you're saying, your question is, if it's unlimited, how do I tap into that?
Yeah, and what's my connection with Hashem? If I can't relate with. Till now I was trying to work on this image that Hashem is a good father, and now you're taking it away.
Yeah.
Now
Well,
I'm excited to learn. I'm just saying.
I'm gonna make it so much greater than
I
that.
know. No, this is fascinating.
If you got a...
I never sat through a class like this. I was honestly fascinated.
Cool.
It's just
Thanks.
interesting that you said Hashem is an energy, because everything that really resonates, because in energy we can connect it, because we are energy, and everything in this room is energy.
Right.
And if Hashem is just an energy, and Hashem used the energy to create this world even, right? It's all energy, the light is energy. Everything's made up of energy. So
why can't people relate? When you say the word energy, they jump. When it clearly says chassidus.
you can't.
But they're learning, like, that's so clear.
We don't learn about Hashem in that way.
But no one learns
There's
this.
also a lot of
You know,
fear.
we do learn? Yeah.
There's a lot of fear and like, and I guess exploring different, like, it's just words. If I call Hashem light, or I call him energy, or I say he's on, like, am I shaking something that's like gonna come out and be like, no, like, it doesn't really matter. It's how you understand it.
Right.
Like in Alcoholics Anonymous, like God of our understanding, because it's something that you can't explain it. Everyone's gonna understand it differently anyhow.
So true.
It's impossible for me to like, even if you explain to me, I say, I agree, like he says in this mammer.
Yeah.
You don't really hear what they're saying on their level of their koyach haskala, koyach hamaskil, which is their spiritual brain
Wow.
coming down like, oh, I think I understand you, and we think we're agreeing based on our physical words. Like,
Right.
we're still understanding it differently.
There's
No
a
two
different
brains
way.
see anything alike.
Right.
It's so true.
So you don't have to be
basically-
afraid. And if someone says, "Oh," I'm like, be curious to what they're, what are they experiencing, and like, we don't have to agree on anything at all. In fact, when we argue towards a truth, as opposed to me needing to prove mine and you needing to prove, and me threatened by yours, then you reach something, you sharpen each other.
Mm.
It says in Mishli, also something from Alcoholics Anonymous, it's like a break-off. They have a branch, and it's called steel to steel, like metal, steel, or iron to iron. And it's based on a pasuk in Mishli that says, just as steel sharpens steel, man sharpens man. So when we have like an argument, if we could remove our personal agenda out and argue on a concept trying to reach a greater truth that's outside of us, so we help each other. So if you're triggered by someone who's saying, no, it's not energy, show your curiosity to them and what they really think. They'll probably want to then feel okay to hear your opinion, because you reflected to them what you want to see in them.
Yeah.
You show to them.
Yeah.
And then we sharpen each other. Like, to
you
call
mean
someone else out and be like, why are they so narrow-minded? It's like, what does it say about me seeing them as narrow-minded?
Right. But now you're explaining it. This is explaining it so well. I mean, you're explaining it so
Thank you.
well. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's really great
You'll
stuff.
never understand so much.
You'll never really understand
Really
someone
never,
else.
right.
I always say that, like, you're not in their brain. You'll never really get a full picture.
And the beauty of knowing that you'll never understand someone else is, it's such a gift.
It's such a gift because it
like
totally opens you.
Yeah.
It breaks you open. You're like, oh, I
Yeah.
won't even fully get it. I can just get a smidge and hold that smidge with them. That's it.
Right.
That's it. That's it. Like, it's
Mm.
so crazy.
It's emotional.
It's
emotional.
very good for husband and wife to know.
Yeah.
Like, really
Yeah.
good. Like,
This is amazing.
Yeah.
it's really good. It's like, they're just revealing me a little bit. Like, let me be more curious. Like, what are you really saying? Like, give them that, like,
Yeah.
don't assume that, like, you know.
Yeah. Reading between the lines is a little bit of that. You're reading what they're not saying.
If you really
What
want
they're
to.
saying.
Kids also.
You're reading their what?
With the kids also.
Yes.
I walked away from
Yes.
this mammer on my round one saying, oh my God, I am God.
Yeah.
I am the process of this huge, like, what did God do? This massive energy that has no definition played this whole game on itself to create me. So we are all really one, and we did this trick to feel separate and make separation, and I'm pretty much, I am God. So when I talk about, and not in this like, I am God, or not like,
Yes.
I can't not be God.
Yes.
Mhm.
I cannot
Yes.
not be God. Like,
This is what I'm saying about
all I am
energy.
is God.
This is what I'm saying about energy. If God is just a huge energy, and everything in this world is an energy, this is just a proof of the energy, the actual couch, right? We are also this godly energy. And so this process that happens, what we're learning in the mimer, is the exact process that's happening within us, like you said. We're as godly as the big godly. We're just as godly, if not more.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the God, we really are a God. We are playing out what God is up there. We are also doing it. Do you know what I mean? And that within itself is so powerful because we are limitless too. Our energy is so powerful.
So where does it come?
So-
So now you get me very excited, but where does it come in? Okay, tapping all to my crap, all into my crap. So all the negative energy that I have,
Yeah.
I wish I could just feel what you're saying and really feel like, whoa, look who I am. I mean, oh my goodness, but
You're
there's so
powerful.
much negativity that, how can I get rid of it? Do
Mm. Good question.
what's that?
Well,
How can I
Mm.
shift by feeling like now when you're explaining it, it's like this is crazy, this is so exciting.
How godly are we?
Yeah, how amazing is it? But
that's what the mammer is about. And it gives you a whole new perspective on the negative energy that I want to get rid of. He says, so we did all this process. Why? And he explains, to bring this infinite light to the lowest place possible. And it just wants to get lower and lower and lower because it's such a great light. And it's actually a loving light. It's a light of love.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to bring it to more and more places. That's why we have the whole, what do we need a Kim for? Because if we can make more separation and we can make more pieces, then there's more to love. And that's what your negative feelings are. They're like opportunities for love. Oh, this thing needs love. This thing needs love. And so you take your Havaya, which represents your infinite love that you have. Yeah. You have an infinite amount of love. And then you start to look at these negative places as opposed to like, how do I get rid of you? As opposed to like, how do I bring that love? How do I love more?
Wow.
You can't love your positive parts anymore. But every time you have a negative thing come up, you're like, oh, there's an opportunity for love.
Oh.
Another place to put my love. I have an anxiety, another place to put my love. I have a negative thought about someone else, and it's like, oh, this thing needs a little bit more love. And every time I have this, it's actually not like, how do I get rid of you? But it's a lower level, another place to continue my expansion of my ever-growing self that doesn't stop.
Wow.
I'm ending this class right here.